Aiding those processes, I've been helping our accreditation liaison officer to compile evidence showing how we're fulfilling standards. I was involved with SACS accreditation when I was at Winston-Salem State University. I also served on the QEP committee. Our initiative was writing in the major, where we emphasize more writing intensive courses in addition to your traditional English composition, 101 and 102.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy assessment. I enjoy the teaching aspect of assessment. I conduct a lot of workshops for faculty, how to develop clear and measurable learning outcomes. I discuss the differences between direct measures and indirect measures. I've facilitated workshops on rubric development, on the test item development, and on any topic that's of interest to faculty. I even attended some of their professional development workshops as a presenter at times.
Okay.
I just feel, assessment is a year-round activity. There's always a tendency to wait until your reaffirmation time comes due. But assessment really has to be done on a quarterly basis, or if you're a semester-based college, at the end of each semester. Any outcome data that has been collected needs to be posted, uploaded into one's assessment plan, and the analysis really needs to begin. It's always nice to have multiple measures to, be more confident in what the assessment data is indicating.
Okay, very good. What do you have much resistance? Have you run into much resistance of faculty or in providing information for assessment? That's one of the things we've tried to develop around here, is a culture of assessment where folks expect and know what they need to do and how to write learning outcomes, but there's still folks who don't necessarily always have the same level of competence as other areas. And that's a challenge for us to try to get everybody on the same page.
Sure. I think every position I've ever held, there was some resistance by some faculty. But, I try to emphasize the benefits of doing assessment. Some faculty see it only as a mandate. We need to do it because we need accreditation. But, there's another side of assessment where it's the continuous improvement process that really needs to be emphasized. We learn more about learning, through outcome assessment. We make changes to program quality, to the curriculum, to the pedagogy that takes place. Teachers actually become better teachers, through assessment results. And most of all, we're concerned about student learning. Are they meeting or achieving the knowledge or the skills or the competencies that we hope they would be achieving? And in most cases, it's just a confirmation process. Performance targets are met, and we actually have evidence. We could tell our story to our regional accreditors, to our program accreditors. So, I shape assessment as a type of scholarship, a type of confirmation, a type of celebration of all the faculty actually has achieved. And we celebrate student achievement as well. And I think, having that perspective, going in with that attitude, has really enabled faculty to be more accepting of the role of assessment. And instead of seeing it as a villain where it's a mandate, they see it as a useful tool, a useful process.
Very good. Very good. Do you have any questions?
Sure. Jim, that's an excellent answer, by the way. In fact, I'll go so far as to say that's music to my ears. I like the way you framed it up. I like the way you have talked about assessment as an opportunity for faculty to gauge their own success and to do something that's part of scholarship. So you tap into their own identity.
Oh, thank you.
You've already answered one of my questions, so I hope we'll come back to discussion of the position and discussion of your credentials. But I want to move in just another direction for a moment. Assuming this all goes well and you continue to be interested in Gardner Webb and we continue to be interested in you, we would invite you to campus and give you an opportunity to meet the folks you'd be working with, including some of the faculty. One of the questions that will come up based on your resume is the number of positions you've held. That each in its own right is very impressive, but the tenure is relatively brief. And I'm sure that would generate some questions as to the number of moves over the last 2 decades. Can you? And I'm sure everyone has its own story. Can you say talk a little bit about your personal pilgrimage and your journey through multiple institutions?
Sure. Well, my wife had a profession with the American Express, and part of her job, she needed to move around to different locations.
Okay.
I was really a spouse that needed to reinvent myself, once we located to new places. I began in institutional research where I was actually collecting, analyzing data, providing data to both internal and external parties. But my real love, I discovered, was an assessment. It gave me more of a chance to work hands-on with faculty members. I also was involved in standardized testing, where I would serve as a proctor with students. I facilitated focus groups to collect qualitative research data in addition to quantitative, research data. And so I had to really, accept whatever jobs were available at the new locations. We're looking, my wife has retired early from American Express, and we're looking, to settle down once and for all in one location. Okay. And as you know, North Carolina has everything a person would ever want.
Yeah. I won't argue with that.
Yeah, 4 seasons, and I miss some of the little things like Waffle House and those types of eateries.
We can do better than Waffle House in Bowling Springs, not by much, but we can do a little better than Waffle House.
Okay, well,
we like our location here. I'm especially fond of being in a position that's only an hour from the Blue Ridge Mountains. You can be in Hendersonville. You can be in Asheville in 75 minutes, easy. You can be on that. Well, I won't say the Outer Banks, but you can be on the East Coast in 3 hours without any problems. But Outer Banks are a little further than that. So we have both the beach and the mountains within driving distance, which is quite nice.
And Gaffney's only 15 minutes away.
That's right.
Well, that sounds like an ideal location. I also have family that still lives in North Carolina. My sister and her family lives in Jamestown, in Guilford County.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Well, let's go back to assessment a little bit. We have a faculty of about 160 right now.
160.
About 160 faculty. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that they're divided into somewhere in the area of 18 schools and departments. Is that close?
I think it's 20 now.
Okay, about 20. Mm-hmm. So some of the best work that we've seen in the past is when Jeff or when we had an assessment director met with a department like the English department or the social science department to talk about how they can do assessment. Can you talk about how when you're working with a group of faculty members with a common academic identity, how you would move them along toward doing effective assessment in their area?
I think the best place to start would be to develop an assessment plan. Take a look at your intended student learning outcomes, either at the course level or at a program level. And then, we need to discuss, well, what would be good examples to demonstrate student mastery of these intended learning outcomes? What types of student assignments or artifacts can be collected and used for the assessment of learning. Sometimes faculty have a pretty good idea what assignments best describe or offered students the best opportunity to demonstrate their mastery. Normally, it's near the end of the academic program. Ideally, if you have like a capstone course or a capstone project, a very comprehensive level where you could actually address multiple learning outcomes, through a very comprehensive assignment.
Okay.
At the course level, it's more or less, having the right alignment between what you do in the class and, you need to have those activities align with your intended course level learning outcomes. One of the nice things about course level assessment is that you could have some formative outcome data collected midway through the course, where you could actually make some changes if you see students are really not on track to achieve, the course level outcomes, and implement those changes. And at the very end, when you conduct a summative assessment, your results are probably going to be much better. So my strategy is always to develop a strategy, develop a plan, decide, what direct assessment methods are going to be used. And you could supplement that with some indirect assessment methods.
Right.
And by indirect, I mean like survey data,
Right.
self-reflection journals, things like that.
Right. And I'm watching my own time, Jim, so forgive me for moving a little fast. That's an excellent response. So let's say you meet with the natural science department. They thank you for your time, and the next week they send you their SLOs that they want to measure. And the SLOs go something like this: 60% of our students will get a C+ or better in Biology 101. 70% of our students will get a B+ or better in Advanced Biology 302, and it's all about the grades and the courses. How are you going to help them?
Well, grades really don't provide you with the level of details that you really need to determine if students are achieving, their student learning outcomes. It doesn't tell you the students' strengths in the, when you look at students in the aggregate, how your students are performing. What are the areas where they may need additional instruction, or maybe just additional opportunities to reinforce those skills that are being taught in earlier courses. That's important. I'd like to do curriculum mapping so you can actually see where a particular SLO is being first introduced, in which courses it's being reinforced or students have the opportunity to practice those skills. And then finally, where should students be assessed? Which courses will students have the best opportunity to demonstrate their mastery? And grades really don't tell you that level of detail. I'm a big advocate for rubrics, where you actually define the learning dimensions of any learning outcome. Writing a research paper has many learning dimensions, from creating a hypothesis to conducting a literature review to determining a conclusion, determining next steps. You look at the spelling, the grammar of the paper. These are all learning dimensions that you would like to have more details about. It's possible students are excelling in most of the learning dimensions, but they may be struggling like in the literature review section. And so this is, something that grades alone will not be able to explain or not indicate students' strengths and weaknesses.
That's an excellent response. I resonate with that on multiple levels. Let me throw another kind of case.
Dr. Leslie, can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, please do, Dale.
Jeff and Lisa, come on back up to your office. I've got you online up here.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you.
So that Dr. Leslie can exit.
We'll be back.
Okay. Jim, I have mixed feelings about this, and I'm just curious how an assessment professional would respond. I know it's not uncommon in the health sciences, and I've also actually, Dale, I've seen it in education too, that the number of competencies that the school or department wants to measure is significant. Sometimes it's 30, 40, or even 50 different
Right.
skills or competencies.
63.
What's that?
63.
I thought it was in the 60s, so 63. And I just saw a school of chiropractic that has a set that's about that large. And my bias is that when it comes to assessment, if you're putting a lot of effort into measuring a single SLO, that becomes unwieldy. How do you approach that, Jim, in your work? Have you ever had a department give you that many SLOs?
Actually, yes, we actually had a opportunity to review existing SLOs in programs and in courses where, typically, for a 3-credit course, you may have, up to, I would say between 10 to 12 student learning outcomes.
Right.
You have one goal for each credit, and for each goal you have 1 to 2 student learning outcomes, possibly 3. But we had cases where it was 45 learning outcomes in a course. And the question is, well, how do you actually assess each one of those learning outcomes in an adequate way? And we discovered they actually would have one item on the final exam that was associated with that learning outcome. And that's just insufficient evidence. You have a 50-50 chance of answering that correctly. And I always emphasize triangulation. We would like to have multiple measures to demonstrate the students are achieving, and also to provide students with many ways to demonstrate, their abilities. So I wouldn't depend upon a final exam, because some students are not the best test takers. They need a chance to demonstrate their knowledge through a project. And so one of the things I try to emphasize, you don't want to assess each and every single topic that you will mention in a course. You have to really prioritize the main focus of a course, the main focus of a program. You have to create a plan that's manageable. Because having a plan that's not manageable, it's really not going to give you very helpful information anyway, because you can't make inferences when you have such small sample sizes, or you just have one question that is aligned to that particular learning outcome. It becomes meaningless.
Okay. So you encourage them to prioritize and select a subset within the larger set that becomes the real focus of their assessment.
Yeah, I think there's a need to prioritize what's the most important of the learning outcomes, because sometimes learning outcomes are really smaller subsets of the main outcomes. And I think, you could actually, if you were to graph it, you would see a tree, but, you try to focus on the parent learning outcome, more or less.
Good response. Again, folks, I'm going to apologize that I have to slip out early. Jim, it was good to meet you. This has been a wonderful conversation. I look forward to seeing it continue.
Well, thank you, Dr. Leslie. It was a great conversation. I enjoyed talking with you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, Jim, we're back in my office now. Lisa and I are back up here. Dale has been able to get us.
Oh, great.
One of the things we look at, obviously, is the institution's Christian mission. We feel very strongly that we need to employ folks who are committed not only to the Christian faith, but also support and can advance the mission of our institution. I'm sure we're Baptist affiliated, but not so much denominationally tied as we are Christian and biblically based. So I just wondered if that would be consistent with what you would bring to the table if you came here.
It would be consistent. I'm a Christian, and one of my experiences was at a Lutheran-based university, Concordia University, and I enjoy, just having the opportunity to go to chapel every day. It gives you a chance to really reflect upon and takes you away from just the grind of, your job, and you get to see, and be with other believers. And I enjoy, I have a strong faith. My success is due to Jesus Christ and no one else. And I think I bring, a very helping attitude. I try to be a servant. I have a servant type of leadership style, and I think that's just based upon the Bible.
Right.
No
That's
one's
good.
to serve you, you're to serve others.
Right. That's encouraging. We have to, we want to make sure our employees are strong in their Christian faith. Obviously, we allow students, or we recruit students without necessarily having them to have to be Christians, but we feel like it's a ministry opportunity for us to reach out. We do have a weekly Dimensions program, which is on Tuesday mornings, which is with different speakers coming in and talking about spiritually related issues. We have a Tuesday night student-led celebration service, which the students put on, which is a very musically oriented. They bring speakers in. And then, of course, we have mission teams that go out during spring break. We have a variety of departments and schools that actually take their students on mission trips, both at spring break, fall break, and over the summer. So, and there's a lot of activity, obviously, in the dorm, student-led Bible studies, and all students have to take New Testament and Old Testament as freshmen. So there's an emphasis. There's not a stick that we use to beat people about with it, but at the same time, we feel like it's very important, and that we are in some ways very distinctive in North Carolina. There are 36 private schools in North Carolina. 7 are Baptist related. Some of those, though, have gotten away from the faith to the extent where they become more of a I don't know, not research oriented, more of a sort of a global type university like Wake Forest. They've gone away from their roots a little bit, but there are still 6 or 7 schools that still have a strong faith-based institutional focus. So hopefully that would be a good match for both of us, and that would be something that's encouraging to me. So
Definitely. Well, I feel spiritual development should be part of student development. We're concerned about the whole person, and that includes spiritual development in addition to, psychological development, emotional development,
right.
and academic development. When students actually have, each of those dimensions in their life, they'll probably be just happier individuals and more productive individuals in society.
Right. Very good. Do you have any questions? We have the 7 programs we have School of Divinity. These are the schools that are nationally accredited. School of Divinity, School of Business, School of Psychology and Counseling, School of Education, School of Nursing, and our Physician Assistance Program, which is a new program, relatively new, about 4 years old. That's going through their first full accreditation right now. We have an undergraduate program of exercise science, which may be seeking accreditation in the future. And then our music program is accredited by NASM. So there's about 7 or 8 programs that are looking at national accreditation. And what we thought this position would involve, it's something different than what we've had before, but to have a central office where you would be the assessment person under our area here, under institutional effectiveness, and that you would coordinate the accreditation process of all those schools, with possibly someone in each of those schools providing data support and other types of information specific to that unit. So we would like to centralize the accreditation process for all these institutions, all these programs, and have it be a consistent type of operation so that there wouldn't be a lot of fragmentation in gathering data or writing reports based on information that's consistent from all programs.
Well, that seems like the best approach and I would, subscribe to that approach. There's a lot of coordination when you complete these self-studies. And that's one of the common features, no matter which program, which accreditor you're talking about, there's going to be a self-study involved. It's going to be a comprehensive task task where you need to obtain data from the institutional research office. You need to obtain data from the assessment director. You need someone that's going to write the text. You need someone that's asking to create the tables, showing longitudinal data. So it's a team effort, and if you don't have that team effort approach, it's probably not going to be done. And then you need someone to report annually. Usually there's always an annual reporting requirement once you do receive accredited, and also a midterm type of report usually is required. But you have to stay on top of it. You really need some project management skills where you have a certain timeline that has to be enforced. So and so is going to do this, and it's due by this time. So you're actually putting together the pieces of a puzzle in order to make your case that you're fulfilling whatever standards are in place.
I think for the most part, most of our national accreditations have been staggered pretty well. In other words, we're not, we don't have 3 or 4 in 1 year, but it seems like there's always one that's either gathering data or, scheduling a site visit, or, it's scattered enough so it's not overwhelming at once, but there's never a dull moment either. And so that's where we are. And then we do have for those programs that don't have a national accreditation, we have 5-year reviews, like for the Department of English, Department of Communication Studies. We have a schedule where no more than 3 of those each year have a 5-year review, which is done internally. We bring in an outside evaluator at the end of the process to review the program. But that takes care of the programs who don't have national accreditation. So there is review and assessment being done at all 20 departmental levels. So.
Oh, that's great. Well, that ensures program quality. You take a look at enrollment, you take a look at admissions, you take a look at the production of student credit hours. All of this contributes to program effectiveness and, your overall institutional effectiveness.
Dale, do you have any questions? Okay.
What would be the strategic plan to bring all 7 of those?
Okay, a strategic plan to bring all 7 of those accreditation organizations together. So, if you could clarify that maybe a little bit more.
Well, you've got the School of Business, and you've got the School of Education, you've got nursing, you've got PA, and they've got national, but they've got content specific. Very different, but you've got, best I can count, there's 7 different accreditation processes going on at any one time. You try not to have them all hit at the same time, but there's got to be some kind of there's got to be an overlaying strategic plan of how you deal with all 7 of these at one time. There's a number of different those kinds of plans that we teach in strategic planning. Which one of those? What theory or philosophy of strategic planning would you use?
Okay.
I guess is my question.
Did you catch that?
Yes. Well, I view accreditation as a major project. So if you have 7 programs that each have different accreditors, of course, you really need to be able to manage 5 or 7, all 7 major projects simultaneously. And this requires, I like to use project management software where I actually develop a timeline, what's going to be due, when, who's going to be responsible. It answers that famous question, who, what, when, and where. And without that, as guidelines, things are going to fall through the crack. So, we always look at the projects currently, being run. And also, I prepare for upcoming accreditations where things like student learning assessment is always going to take place on a continuous basis. And I always make sure, once outcome data is available, let's upload this outcome data. Let's look at the results and let's start utilizing the results so we could demonstrate that, our follow-up actions have been implemented and they have been successful. But once again, it's just a continuous process. Once you receive accreditation, you really have to once again prepare for the next round of accreditation activity.
We had ours was 2017, our SAC's 2017, and we are already starting to gather data now next year for our 5-year interim report. So there's no lull time.
Oh, great. Great. That sounds like it's being done, the way it's supposed to. I've been at places where, 6 months before a self-study was due, basically everyone was running around like their heads were cut off.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen that, and it's very ineffective, and it kind of defeats the purpose.
Right. Well, that happened to us in 2007. It was sort of a last-minute thing to pull it together. It's better this time, but we do need some even better coordination and more scheduling in advance to make it run. I see on your resume that you're involved with Crystal Reports.
Yes, I was using Crystal Reports. It was connected to our student information system, which happened to be, it was Data Telcali.
Okay.
So we were really using Crystal Reports to secure the fields we needed.
Right.
We had to know where the fields were located first. But, we hit schematics and we had data dictionaries that would help us in the process. I thought Crystal Reports was wonderful, though. It's kind of, a drag and drop type of activity where you define what fields are to be included.
Right.
You include parameters, what particular terms should be included, and other, parameters as well. But the reports will come out pretty nice.
Lisa and I use those extensively. And if we do get together and do meet, it would be interesting because some people show you pictures of their kids. I would show you our file directory of Crystal Reports. We're very proud of the hundreds that we have in there. So we'd like to show that off probably before anything else.
I see.
No.
Okay. Have you noticed anyone following you around lately? Jim?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was
Have you
that?
noticed anyone following you around lately?
Following me around?
Yes.
In what sense?
No, I was just saying, we had an investigator. I was going to tell you we had an investigator following you around just to make sure, you're on the up and up, but that was just a joke.
Okay. I got it now.
No.
I was worried. It's like, I didn't realize I was being followed.
No, we do research. We take research seriously here. No, we started this process probably a month ago. We received a lot of applications that really didn't meet or match what we were looking for. We feel like you're a strong candidate. If you're still interested after we conclude here, we might like to try to arrange a campus visit for you, if that would be acceptable.
Yes. It sounds like a great position at a great institution, and I would love to have the opportunity to come out to the campus.
Okay.
Meet everyone in person.
Obviously, there's other people we'd like you to meet, and like you just to get a sense of the culture here. So what we'll try to do is get with the particulars and try to get back in touch maybe at some point and work out something like that. And hopefully not in the near too far in the future, but we can do that and hopefully move this process, like Dr. Leslie said, even further forward.
Well, that sounds wonderful, and I'm looking forward to it very much.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time, Jim, and you take care, and we'll be in touch soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for meeting with me today. I know it's tough to arrange a time where you could obtain, participation from so many folks. Everyone has, projects and responsibilities, but it was a pleasure speaking with you.
I like the technology. It's a good way to do this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. All right.
Have a nice day.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Lead meeting. And I'll have to log in. I've got your camera working now, so it'll work.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know.
I called him at 11 o'clock today, and I offered to come up here and do this.
I know.
Oh,
I downloaded the
she's
initial
just
thing.
like my wife. Can't tell you anything.
That one's still on.
This one's still mine.
Yeah, you can. I've got that one. So let me be able to do end meeting from that one. I'm recording on my office computer.
Okay.
Well, he is here because he was doing a teleconferencing. If you want to just kind of wait, I'll check around and see if he. sorry. He is not upstairs. Can I leave a message for him? Did he call you or?
Yes, sir. Yeah, resign. Yep. I wasn't expecting her today. I had to. I know you're interviewing. I heard. Well, yeah. I know. Seth was looking for you too. I don't know if he wanted. All right. But her name is. Yeah. All right. Okay.